So thank you for being here. And if you're someone who's watching the replay, please consider yourself part of the group, and share the energy that we're going to experience here. And just think like Einstein and ignore the illusion of time. So we're going to start with just a little drop in for our own presence here. Be like pressing the reset button from whatever else we've been doing this morning. So let's just clear our minds and hearts and close our eyes, take a nice deep breath. And just be aware of the breath coming in. And imagine that we're connecting as if we are in a circle, as if we're all present. And asking our higher selves to give us all the best possible outcome from this class. And just feel our feet on the floor. And be aware of the life energy in our bodies. And take another nice deep breath and bring your attention back to the group. So welcome everyone. I think all of you know me, so I don't need to do much of an introduction, but I'm Elizabeth Sloan, and I've been doing energy healing work for quite some time now, which is a big switch from the stressful life I used to have working in production, which Carrie remembers how stressed out we all were. So very simply now, I know that working with clients, that many of our emotional issues come from the feeling that we're not safe or loved. And I'm really all about fostering that, because it's at the heart of how we function in life, how we launch ourselves into life. And I really felt like I really wanted to offer this little mini training, because bringing more peace into the world starts with us. If each of us can feel more peaceful and learn how to maintain a sense of peace, it just seems like a really good use of a Tuesday morning, that I could be sharing something valuable, and that you guys, if you don't already know the valuable things that these are, you could be learning and absorbing them. So the sense of unsafety starts very early in life. It can be named as a first chakra issue, which I'll explain in a minute. And in this case, feeling loved and safe is not just a matter of feeling like we're getting Christmas presents or picked up in cuddles, although that is a big part of it. It's the sense of safety, where our very survival is in front, center. It's like the most important thing, whether or not we'll survive. And babies know whether they're loved and nurtured. They know pre-verbal, they know whether they're safe, whether they're picked up and cuddled, whether they're held all the time. There are neurological connections that form as well during that time if they're picked up and cuddled. But our balance and our sense of being grounded in the world, of having value in the world, all come from whether or not we feel safe. And that starts when we're very young. And when we're not balanced, if we're not grounded, life seems very difficult. And the slightest challenges can set us off, because we haven't got the bandwidth to deal with anything. It's hard to feel like we have no defenses against more bad news or unhelpful thoughts that keep coming up. And we get kind of raggedy around the edges, and we don't have the bandwidth to be gracious in our lives. And it's exhausting. So how do we get grounded to really be ready to deal with more in life? There are easy steps that we can take, and it's up to us to apply repetition to those steps, because the more we repeat them, the more we teach our magic brains that we are safe, that it's okay to be safe. So at the root of this recovery is repetition. And this is to do with neuroplasticity. A brief description of neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to change itself. So if our wonderful minds, our greatest tools for life, are stuck in painful or self-defeating behaviors or thought patterns, they can take control over our lives. And I don't know about you, but I know what that feels like, as if my life, as if my psyche is just like a runaway train. Like I get caught in patterns of worry. I get angry easily. Luckily, most of this in the past. But when I was working in production, whether I was on a movie or whether later on I was working in corporate world, I would get like this all the time. That didn't have any kind of a grounding that would allow me to preserve my peace of mind and heart, and also to not be a pain in the neck to the people who are around me, because I wasn't expressing myself in a kind, constructive way. I would fall into panic easily and actually be pretty unpleasant to be around. But learning to replace that with something better is the key for recovery, essentially, because our minds are the greatest tools we have for life. They are here for us to use, not the other way around. And if they're stuck in a painful, self-defeating behavior or thought pattern, they can take control over our lives rather than the other way around. So we can use our minds, obviously, for figuring out the bills or addressing issues that come up, and they always come up, but we cannot allow our minds to undermine us emotionally, which, considering that most of their purpose, or their evolved purpose that's hardwired into all of us, is self-preservation, we can get stuck in that mode. So when something horrible or difficult happens, or a painful situation repeats itself, the result is that we find we're not using our wonderful minds to enjoy our life, because the mind feels like it has to keep attention on things that are potential threats. So it's like it's always looking around for something to be difficult. It's expecting things to be difficult. Whereas in fact, if we change our basic like default setting to I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe, teaching the mind to be in alpha state, which is a state of like calm alertness, calm, alert, present. Sounds great, doesn't it? To feel like that more of the time, we can do that. And that's why I want to teach you how to do these very simple things that tell the mind, you're going to be in alpha state, I'm in control. And that way we can lead from the heart and from the second chakra. We can lead from our sense of presence, our sense of self, rather than being dragged along by these more sort of primal functions of the mind, which are self-preservation. Because when self-preservation is the headline story, the things that really matter, like fostering love and grounded presence, don't really get as much attention. So the goal of today is really to focus on being comfortable, because I've got a lovely quote for you, which is, let me share the screen here so you can see it. I love this quote. It has really opened my mind to the possibilities of changing things for my life, changing things in the way I teach, changing things in the way I work with clients. And it's a very powerful idea. And Buckminster Fuller was a very creative man. He designed a lot of really wonderful things, and he wrote a lot of really groovy stuff. And I don't need to give you a potted biography of him, but I recommend checking into who he was and what he did. because he was really amazing. And this quote to me says, instead of trying to install new software on a life that isn't working, build something bigger, more beautiful, more amazing, that makes the stuff that isn't working redundant. And I hope that makes sense. I hope I've articulated it well. We spend a lot of time trying to fix things that we don't think are working, instead of building something better that makes the thing that isn't working redundant, that allows it to essentially atrophy. And a great example of that is the iPhone. If you remember back to 2007, Apple came out with this thing that just blew everyone's socks off. And it wasn't a better version of the BlackBerry. It wasn't a better version of the Nokia flip phones. It was this amazing thing that people literally would stand around the block to buy because they were so excited by it, because it was new, it was amazing. And this is what I'm suggesting we do with our own lives. And by extension, when we change our own energy, the things around us change. The way that life interacts with us changes. And the value of our presence in the world as part of a greater consciousness changes. So we are at a time in history when we're dealing with events and circumstances that nothing has ever prepared us for. And we're having to deal with it the best we can and try and stay centered, try and stay positive. And it's that calm center that we're going to work on today, because from that place, we can really have a much more, use our inner intelligence to deal with these things, rather than buying into hysterical stories about what this means and what that means, that can be based on ideologies and opinions that drive us apart from each other and undermining the sense of security and community that our hearts actually really crave. And this is going on in neighborhoods, it's going on in families where people are getting into heated arguments or looking at who your neighbor might have voted for, and therefore you're never going to talk to them again. Whereas they're another spark of humanity, of consciousness, just like we are. There's really no difference except the opinions that they have subscribed to, but it's not really what's in their heart and soul. It's the surface mind. So the real guidance for dealing with difficulties like this is within. So we need to make within a beautiful place to launch ourselves from every day, because that's really all we have. No matter how attached we feel to other people, whether we have responsibilities for children or aging parents, we have to be on solid ground ourselves, because that's all we really know to be true. So what we're doing today is learning how to focus on building that safe place within us. And from there, we do launch ourselves into the world every day with a stronger sense of presence. We bring heart, we bring compassion to current affairs as they unfold, rather than anger. And we know we do have a place in world events, even though we can feel powerless. We do have a place merely by existing and by curating our own energy in a really beautiful way, that our presence has significance, because we're counterbalancing pain and suffering, anger, war, discontent, counterbalancing that with, no, I'm going to stay calm in my present center. The humanity needs my calm, because it resonates out into the world. It really, truly does. And there have been very successful initiatives to have like mass meditations, or Lynn McTaggart's intention setting. They're sort of like mass gatherings, and they have a great impact on the world, because our peaceful presence, if we can maintain it, radiates out into the world and affects everything, starting with the people closest to us. And there is a sense of powerlessness that arises when we're asked to consider these unspeakable things happening in the world. And some of them are so difficult that we can't even take them in. And very often we're told we need to pick a side, like who are you supporting or who are you against? And that's been a prevailing thing since, since early childhood. What football team do you support? Like, you're asked to pick a side all the time. There's actually only one side. Maybe you don't care if it's the Raiders or the Ducks. Maybe you just like football. Maybe you just love humanity. Maybe you love everyone who's suffering and fervently wish for their highest good. Maybe it's just that simple. Instead of sinking into sort of vengeful feelings of rage, which are easy to do when we see what's going on in the world. But to have one's own presence as a soothing balm for that, instead of joining in the rage, is a much more powerful position to take. And we are connected to wider consciousness. And when we learn to use and build the frequencies, the personal frequencies that you're going to learn to access and amplify today, this is how we insist on living in those calmer places inside ourselves instead of fear. And those are essentially love. Different shades of love instead of different shades of fear. And as we establish that firmly in our lives, we have the perfect guidance system ready to bring to all situations as they arise. So whatever comes up, if we're on solid ground, we can manage things so much better, whatever they are, because we're more in touch with our higher intelligence rather than reacting from a small angry place that may have been conditioned by difficult life experiences, whether they are our own or things that we see happening in other people's lives. And I know myself from decades of life experience that when I'm feeling grounded and strong, I really can deal with difficult things that come up. And speaking as someone who's had a pretty difficult life, that's really something to be able to say that now. And that's from learning how to keep myself in a certain frame of mind and heart and body, because it really is up to me. And I'm sure Kerry remembers when I was managing projects as a video producer, this is when we were both working for a big corporation. If I was having a stressful day and on a short fuse, this would get passed down to the crew and other people around me. And I would be rude to people I actually loved. And I could see myself doing it. But my higher self was going, who are you that you're behaving like this? But when I was able to be more calm and loving, like if I'd worked on it, if I'd cultivated love, the day would run more smoothly. And it's the same with families. If there's someone in the family whose attitude dominates the family dynamic in an uncomfortable way, everybody suffers. So these are just tiny localized examples of how we affect each other. And you're possibly familiar with some of them or have experienced some of them yourselves. And I believe that as more of us cultivate inner peace, we are changing the world. We truly are. And I found that there are several essential pieces of broader techniques that I have learned that when I bring those pieces together, they become very powerful. And I've used them in guided meditations. If you've ever listened to those, the meditations that I've done, there's a lot of them on my website. And I do share them when I do events or with individual clients when they need to work on a certain thing. And I brought in aspects of some really, really solid, wonderful research to back up those guided meditations. And I like to write them. They reveal themselves to me before I write them down. I suppose some people might call it channeling. I don't really know what to call it. I used to be a songwriter, and that's how the meditations come now, in the same way that songs used to. So what I'm going to tell you about are the open focus brain research, the heart-mind coherence breathing, which is wonderful, and also how to lever the power of the universe. Sounds humble, doesn't it? But how to leverage the power of the universe in the form of golden light, as taught by Mike Dooley. And I'll tell you about each of them so that your thinking mind is satisfied as far as curiosity. And then I'll bring them all together and we'll do a guided visualization exercise. So one of the main things at the foundation of helping people with their lives is to see where issues started. And very often they start at the root chakra, the first chakra. And if you're not familiar with the chakra system, this is a basic diagram of it. And you can see, like right at the bottom here, the root chakra. This is formed when we're super young. It's the gateway to all the other chakras. These are the properties of the root chakra. The base of the spine. And this is what we're concerned about, is the primary concerns of the root chakra: grounding, safety. And you can see on here as well, it can be undermined by fearful situations, including, very crucially, when we're babies, not feeling that we're safe. And that comes with love. It's completely connected with love. So you can see the impact this would have on our lives. It's very hard to build a life on a shaky foundation. The same reason you wouldn't want to live in a house that's built on quicksand. It's hard to live a life that's built on an unsteady first chakra. And it's often the first place I start when working with a new client. So when we bring that first chakra into balance, when we work with the little child, the baby who's still inside us wanting to be heard, we give ourselves a much stronger chance of living the lives we want and deserve. And repeating this work, using the tools I'm going to give you, soothes the first chakra and trains the mind and heart to be calm and to serve us well, instead of being unsteady all the time. Because if we are unsteady, we can see things like having big dreams that we never quite achieve, despite knowing that we're perfectly capable of achieving them, or having difficulty getting motivated and taking consistent action, or ignoring our bodies and being out of touch with what our bodies need. Not being fully present, centered, and grounded, like present for our lives, or feeling we were born worried, which I've heard so many times, or feeling blocked from our financial abundance, which is a survival issue, and it is linked to self-worth, like we deserve to be here, which is definitely a first chakra issue. So let's get into talking about open focus. And I want you to be aware of this work because it's so wonderful. There's a book that that the researcher provided for us called Open Focus Brain. And feel free to screenshot any of this, obviously, if you want to refer back to it. This simple technique has so much impact. Very often, if we're stressed or depressed, what's connected with that is that our focus becomes very tight, because we have to be, the brain says you have to be super laser focused to survive this, whatever it is. And it's similar to when a baby is not held by her parents, and she knows she needs to be held so she can actually tense up and hold herself. which I didn't know until recently. A baby can actually tense up her body so that she feels held, even if it's not by somebody else. There has to be that sense of safety and readiness. And the psoas muscles are included in that, of course. And that's another thing to talk about, which we won't today because it's a big subject. But how we store stress, tension, fear in our psoas muscles. So if you do get and read this book, you'll understand how significant this is. When we learn to do open focus, when we practice it every day, some of this guy's patients and clients have experienced life-changing results from using this technique, even recovering from serious illnesses. And I'm very excited to introduce you to it if you're not already familiar with it. And we'll use it today for its simplest purpose, which is expanding our focus and promoting an alpha state in the mind. So again, an alpha state is a relaxed but alert mental state with increased mental focus. And in an alpha state, individuals often experience a calm and meditative mindset. So there's reduced mental chatter, there's increased creativity, and enhanced actual focus on things that matter rather than super tight focus on what could be a potential threat. Our focus expands to include the whole world and all possibilities, and some people use it very successfully for manifesting. So, where was I? Open focus. So that sounds really nice, open focus. Joe Dispenza's meditations, I'm sure you're familiar with him. I hope you're familiar with him because he's doing wonderful work. He uses open focus in some of his meditations. Tara Brach, also wonderful teacher of mindfulness and presence. She uses open focus, and she has a lovely meditation online. I think it's on Spotify that includes open focus. And if you want, I'll find it for you and share the link in an email. So when we go through this process of visualization, I will suggest things like imagining the volume of the spaces inside your nose, which the first time you hear it sounds, well, this is weird. Why is she saying this? Or the distance between your eyes or the distance between your ears. It actually is putting your brain into an alpha state without having to meditate, without having to do anything other than just imagine those things, which is pretty amazing. And it's based on extensive research, which I love about it because it stands for itself. And it brings you into a more aware state of presence. So another element I'm going to bring in today is based on research by the HeartMath Institute in California. Is everyone familiar with that? Have you heard of it?
Not sure. No.
Well, they do a lot of research that explores the connection, and it's a profound connection between the heart's frequencies and human well-being. And their work explores that interplay of emotions and the heart's electromagnetic field, which is much bigger than most people can imagine. And the heart's magnetic field is a lot more significant in its impact than the mind's electromagnetic field. It's about 10 times the size. So it's good to pay attention to it. It's good to foster the status of our heart. It's very important. And this HeartMath Institute, they demonstrate how cultivating self-love and positive emotions harmonize that field. So you have enhanced coherence between the mind and the brain, emotional resilience, overall vitality. And by understanding and harnessing the power of the heart's frequencies, people can embark on transformative journey if they really tap into that greater self-love, which is greater love for everything, and inner peace, and much more sense of well-being, like holistic well-being, like all of it, just like I feel good, which sometimes a lot of people haven't experienced for years, if they ever even have their whole life. And this brings us to, I don't know if you all received the email that I sent out.
Yes.
Asking, like, what is that lovely situation? What would you really love to feel? That was the essence of that email. Did everybody get that and have a chance to write it down? Like an ideal situation, like if you were going to give your soul some chocolate pudding right now, what would it look like? Okay. So if you've got that ready, I'd also like you to think of a situation that you would like to have. That might not be something you've already experienced. But for some people, it might be success in business. Like maybe there's an outcome they really would love to have from the next step in a business endeavor. They might like to resolve a situation with family. They might like to see a situation in the world ease up a bit. But it's mostly about a personal feeling. Like that's all we have any control of, is how we feel regarding something. So if you could make a note of something like that, like it could be, if you're a coach, it could be reaching more people. It could be expanding your business. It could be feeling financially secure. It could be any of those things. And it should be easy to visualize.
Can it be more than one thing?
It's easier to focus on one thing, I think.
Just curious.
Yeah, and what I'm going to get you to, and you'll see when we do the exercise, it's going to be the feelings that are involved. So you have your ideal situation. That you've already written about. And then you're going to come up with something else. Okay. I'm going to assume that everyone's come up with that thing. So we're going to bring it all together now, and we're going to add a visualization of golden light. And using that is based on, there are many teachings that use golden light. I've learned a lot from a guy called Mike Dooley, who has written some wonderful books and is really enthusiastic about life. And I love who he is. I love what he does, even though he's not sort of, the guru in a loincloth on the mountain. He's really worth following because he's very kind and he's very enthusiastic, and he really wants everybody to enjoy their lives, love their lives, lift themselves up. And he's written some fabulous books to that end. So the important thing with the visualization is the feelings. That's the most important thing. And even though I ask you to imagine details, sensory details, those are less important, because the most important thing is the feeling that you get. And we'll get to that. We never get attached to details. The details enhance the reality of the experience, but we don't need to get attached to them, because what we're asking the universe for is this or something better. Always, the universe might have something better for us. So we restrict the possibilities if we ask it for a specific thing. So I'm going to walk you through the whole process. And then if there are any questions, feel free to ask. And you'll recognize in the visualization process some of the elements that I just outlined. And just try and relax and without too much analysis, instead of thinking, oh, there's that bit from open focus, or this is from, you know, whatever the other thing I mentioned. Just allow those thoughts to give to, just like you've told your conscious mind, you've told your thinking, the brilliant mind that figures things out for you has heard that what we're going to use is based on research. It's not just me, you know, writing poetry and deciding to share it. This is based on research, and it might get a little poetic, but the basis of it is that I know these practices help people, and I've seen it with clients, and I've seen it in my own life. So what I'd like for you to do now is just to sit comfortably. And if you can, just sit so that you're kind of square to the wall in front of you, so that you're not at an angle. So you have like a distance. Yeah, it's great. And before you close your eyes, because this is going to be an inner journey of imagining, and you're welcome to turn your camera off if you're more comfortable that way. But before you close your eyes, just take a brief look around you to remind yourself of the space that you're in, so that your mind has a sense of it. So just sitting comfortably, close your eyes, and just become aware of your breathing and its natural breathing. Maybe just a little deeper than usual, and you're more aware of your breathing. And bring your full attention as much as you can to your breath. And notice the coolness of the air as it passes over the back of your tongue and flows down your throat. And as it flows, imagine it flowing into your heart. And it flows like a figure of 8 through and around the chambers of your heart. And as it flows, it softens and lightens your heart. And now imagine that cool flow of air is golden light. Beautiful, soft golden light. And it fills your heart. And it fills your chest. And it relaxes your shoulders and your neck. And with your next breath, imagine the breath is flowing up behind your eyes. This cool golden light. It's completely relaxing your eyes. And your eyes become so relaxed that they feel almost like they're made of jello. Clear, soft jello. No tension. And as the breath flows between your heart and your eyes, can you imagine the distance between your heart and your eyes? And now, can you imagine distance between your eyes? And now, can you imagine the distance between your ears? And now, can you imagine the volume of space inside your head as if it were completely empty? And can you imagine the volume of space of your jaw, your lower jaw? And with your next breath, just breathe that golden light up to fill the empty space in your head. And allow your scalp to completely relax into the golden light. Every hair follicle relaxes. And become aware of the space occupied by your hair. And now become aware of the distance between your forehead and the wall in front of you. And now become aware of the space between the top of your head and the ceiling. And now can you imagine the space between your ears and the walls to the side of you? And now can you imagine the distance between the back of your neck and the wall behind you? And now bring your attention back to your breath. And draw more of this golden light into your body. And imagine it spreading all the way to your toes and the tips of your fingers. And become aware of the contours of the soles of your feet. And feel like your whole body is filled with that golden light. Up to the top of your head and your ears. Every cell is glowing with light. And now imagine yourself in that scenario that you wrote about earlier, the ideal situation, all the details. And connect with everything that you can see, smell, anything you can hear or touch or taste. Make it as real as possible, like you're really truly there. And notice any emotions that you have in that scene, like joy, maybe love, happiness, an overwhelming bliss, maybe. And now fill that scene with the golden light from your heart, embracing every part of it. And with your next breath, let these pleasant emotions inhabit the flow of your breath. And feel them flowing into your heart. You're breathing all of this wonderful situation into your heart now. And let the emotions expand to fill your body as you filled your body with the golden light. And now add the feeling of gratitude if it's not already there. You have claimed this situation as yours. And all the pleasant feelings with your love generated from your own brilliant mind and heart. Because you do have this power to create wonderful feelings and make them real. And gather it into your field of reality now, this feeling, your energetic imprint in your life. This is the presence of you as yourself, here and now. Now hold these feelings, amplify the golden light. And apply it to a situation you would like to have, that I also asked you for. The same sense of golden light, the same gratitude, the reality of it. And the loving acceptance that this is yours to own. And get a sense of the power of your mind and heart. To guide the reality of your life experience. Now imagine sharing this energy, this light with everyone in the group here, as if we were all in a circle together. Holding these intentions for each other. And it's all the same loving intention, which is our highest good. And you can feel aware of the connection we all have. And with those who are watching the replay, we send our love through space and time to you also. And with your next breath, imagine this golden light expanding. And allow our presence to expand. And we share this love with whatever part of consciousness you want to send healing to now. Whether it's humanity, or the forests and the oceans. Expand this beautiful golden light over the globe. And just get a sense of how powerful you are, that you can do that. And now take a nice deep breath. And notice the coolness of the air as it passes over the back of your tongue. Become aware of the life energy in your hands, in your arms, in your body. And when you open your eyes, see if you can imagine the room you're in is filled with golden light. And your heart filled with love, which is what you are at your core. And repetition, 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 repetition. I cannot emphasize strongly enough. You've shown that you have the power to do this. This is you doing this because you can. Your beautiful, brilliant minds and hearts can do this. I can guide you through these things that I've learned just out of fascination, really. And I have learned that when I share these things in guided meditations or in sessions with clients, they make a difference. And that's why I put this little presentation together, because I really wanted to share it. Because it's so simple, and why wouldn't we all, take advantage of these things? And there is another thing that I share a lot with clients, which is focusing on appreciation. I don't know why the dock is on the side, but never mind. So like in the morning, if we immediately lock into appreciation, instead of worrying about something that's coming up, like I'm a very shy person. It's not easy for me to get on screen with, I was actually kind of scared when I saw how many people had registered, and I'm thrilled that it's a group of friends, essentially. But I told myself, I'm not going to worry about this. It's going to be perfect and lovely, and the right people will come and they'll get what they need. And that's how it's worked out. And if I give my mind that gift first thing in the morning, stop it from being the runaway train, focusing on appreciation. And when I was coming out of my stressful work time before I hit burnout, I would focus on appreciation. I would make myself sit down every morning. And I learned this from a Rhonda Byrne book. Write down as many things as I could that I was grateful for, because I'm basically telling the universe, thank you. And when you tell your universe, thank you, it's like telling your auntie that thank you for that birthday present, and she's more likely to send you some more, which being an auntie, I can tell you is very true, even though I love all my nieces and nephews. The ones who bother to say thank you when I send them something, those are the ones I really want to send something more to. It's very human of me, but it's true. And I believe that when we have that connection, when we make a grateful connection with the universe, saying, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, look at the color of those leaves. Even if it's something that simple, it smiles back at us. So writing down as many things as I can that I'm grateful for, and then writing down at least 5 things that I love. And then the important part is to look back over those connections, those written connections, and really feel the appreciation. Because like it says on the slide, you're really writing a love letter to your life at the beginning of the day. And all the moments of your day follow on from that first moment. So that really makes a huge difference as well. And that's how we stay grounded, is by insisting every day, because our lives are made up of these moments. And if we can dictate the nature of those moments from the get-go, we stand a much stronger chance of enjoying our lives. And it really is this. If you can remember how you felt today, if you can remember to practice these very, very simple things, even if you only have a minute to take a deep breath, bring your attention to your breath. Check into your body, notice the coolness of the air as it passes over the back of your tongue. When I discovered that, so much came from it. And just remember that with everything that you can do like that, that's repeated, there's a saying in neuroscience, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but neurons that fire together wire together. And our minds have spent so long struggling. If we've been traumatized, if we've had crappy parents or difficult school experiences, it can perpetuate. It's reinforced by other things. That we have to insist, and we do have the power to do this. We insist on forging a new pathway, and let those neurons fire together. So repetition, repetition, repetition. Like, give ourselves that every day. It's no one else's job to do that. To claim what we want for our lives. We can overcome criticism of fear and rejection. And these things alone will be super helpful. I know that from my own life. I know that from giving these things to clients. And I will send links to a lot of this stuff to all of you in emails. Everyone who registered for this will get links to these resources in their original form. I encourage you to use a habit tracker if you're familiar with those. It's basically just a little chart, or you could check off on a calendar. Yes, I did this today. Yes, I did this today. And you'll see what happens, what changes happen in your life, even just after a week. Self-care. A lot of talk about self-care at the moment. It's not just having a bath with a bottle of champagne and a couple of scented candles. It's about these little things that we do for ourselves every day. About respecting ourselves as if we were a beloved child that we're grateful to have care of. Thank you so much for coming. It's really lovely that you were curious enough to sacrifice an hour and 15 minutes of your time this morning. And I'll just remind you you can repeat these things. Like, just keep forging those neural pathways in your mind. Keep reminding your wonderful heart what it is to feel love in your life, because it is there for all of us. We all get to experience this, not just the saints and the gurus.